Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to Live Life Driven. Thanks for tuning in. I am off to a fantastic week. It is, it's Thursday. We're going to Beast Fest tonight here in Montana, which is a celebration of all things, I think all things men, which we don't get to do that too often. So we'll talk about hunting and fishing and all those cool things. And I've got Jeff Dixon on the line, who's an avid fisherman. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today, Jim?
Not too bad. I love when I meet fellow outdoorsmen, whether those are fishermen or hunters or whatever it is. Just enjoying the great outdoors is a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, see, I've got my South River Flush Up T-shirt on just for this. This podcast. I knew it.
Hey, I received an email from your publicist on your book, Spirituality for Badasses. And what caught my attention on this thing was, as I was looking through the website, it says, fair warning, contains cursing, tequila drinking, loud rock and roll, and bar fights. How could I not want to interview after reading that?
Hell yeah.
So let's hope we have a whole bunch of that on the line today. At least we can talk about it. But before we jump into your book and the bar fights and the tequila drinking and all that, and I've got a tequila background, give me a little background on yourself. Who are you and what brought you to the place of writing this wonderful book?
Thank you. So, for me, my spiritual journey, which led up to writing this book, began with not feeling so great about being here on the planet, being depressed when I was in my 20s, and anxiety attacks, about depression, anxiety attacks, about just feeling like I was just born on the wrong freaking planet and not feeling comfortable in my own skin. Early on, tried the conventional stuff, a little bit of Prozac, a little bit of therapy, and it just was not my cup of tea. And I was fortunate enough to have pretty open-minded parents, and my dad had been reading some new agey material, and so I read a few things about that, and I was like, hey, skeptical, like all of us I think should be at the beginning of spirituality. And I'm going to jump forward really here, not to make this super long. I, lo and behold, had some experiences early on with specifically with like little out of body experiences, which, strange as that may seem, said to me, oh, okay, I had that repeated number of times, and I was able to then say, okay, there is something to spirituality. Mm-hmm. And so then I kind of left all that kind of more of the weirder edge of it behind and got more involved in Zen practices and non-dual practices, which was really, for me, the most therapeutic relative to this depression that I was feeling, because all of them were offering a broad kind of solution, which is to, hey, find out who you really are and you'll stop feeling like shit. Mm. And so I did. And lo and behold, I had some breakthroughs with that. And fast forward, about 10 years, and I no longer feel like shit. So it's, it really, basically what I got into was some deeper levels of mindfulness, like, mindfulness-based stress reduction and uncovering the aware part of you that's already okay. And when that happened, my depression went away. The anxiety attacks stopped. My feelings of being like, lost on planet Earth stopped. And I just had a lot of benefits from that. And this is my second book. Spirituality for Badasses is the second book. I wrote another one about 10 years ago. And I've always been a creative type, into really young, into writing songs and lyrics and some poetry. So that just eventually naturally led into me writing this book. And this book came about, the bar fights, the tequila drinking, the loud rock and roll, and the potty mouth humor. I didn't get into this stuff because I was like, wanted to be a yogi or a saint or some do-gooder. That was just not my intention. I was hurting. I was suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I got into this shit. It's like, and then when it worked, I'm gonna still be true to myself. I'm not gonna pretend that I'm something that I'm not, which is a saintly, non-drinking guy who gets up and meditates for 2 hours a day and doesn't drink beer. No. The depression is gone, the sense of separation is gone, and hell yeah, I still like to down a few shots of tequila from time to time and smoke pot in my hot tub and have, good sex and a family and a mortgage and a cool car. All the rest of that stuff doesn't need to go away. So that's how, that's why the book is what it is, who wouldn't want to go to a bar and get mindfully drunk off of tequila?
Jeff, I love your honesty, because I think so many people out there do feel like shit, and they're not open enough or aware of enough of where they sit in life and why they feel that way. And there's so many factors that control how we feel, from emotions to physical strength and what we eat, what we put in our bodies. And I just feel like there's not enough tools out there for people. And my mom says, people sit in their own shit because it's warm. I think there's too many people doing that, and clearly you have found an alternative to feeling like shit and putting together some options for yourself. Can you talk a little bit about the process as you pulled yourself out of that zone, as you discovered what made a difference?
So your podcast is all about saying yes, right?
Yeah.
Just saying yes to everything. So everything includes the stuff that you don't necessarily want to say yes to.
Yeah.
Which is in my own case was the fear, this big sense of for me in my anxiety attacks, it's death and doom and annihilation. And how do you say yes to that? So eventually, slowly, how do you stop fighting the feelings, the bad feelings that you have, instead invite them in? Well, the way that you do that, because you just can't say, oh, I'm just going to invite all these things and expect magic to happen. There has to be something which then can absorb, which then is able to embrace these bad things that you don't necessarily want. There has to be something that embraces them and that absorbs them, that sees them. And that thing is, I keep it really super simple. It's just your internal sense of who you are, your awareness, yours, you call it what you want. But for me, it was just this observer, witness, aware part, which for many of us is undervalued, undiscovered, and unknown. Well, it became known to me when I started getting involved with spiritual authors and teachers and mindfulness authors and teachers. But hell, there's this part of you that's really already pretty cool. That is okay. And that's the part that then can say yes to the hurting parts, to the wounded parts, to the parts that hold fear, to the parts that are broken, where you can hold them and see them, not trying to push them away, not really even ultimately trying to change them or make them shiny. So the process is this, Jim, where instead of adding new shiny shit to you, you dismantle and sort of take apart the stuff that's preventing you from seeing that there's an internal part of you that's already okay. And you have to say yes to some kind of scary stuff along the way.
Yeah, I love the fact that you've said that, because you're right. It's easy to say yes to the fun stuff and the things that are comfortable, but you also do have to say yes to those uncomfortable things. Oftentimes that's a uncomfortable conversation with a family member or even yourself, and identifying, as you suggested, some of these weaknesses are things that are holding you back. I think we all have somebody shiny on the inside, and many of us are still looking for that person,
Yeah.
and can't figure out how to get them out of their little shell.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Sometimes I find that in order to get individuals out of their shell, a good dose of humor is a great thing. A good dose of meeting them where they are. For instance, at Lucky's Two-Stroke Biker Bar, where I invite you in, and I'm going to meet you where you are, because I'm not, there ain't nothing wrong with this or that or the other thing. All of our, that's like you welcome the flaws, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's I think part of my process as a teacher and as a coach and as an author is to, where can I meet you, and how can I help you to help you bring you out of your shell by saying, and being humorous. And I think another part that plays to this too is it's like, if you're teaching this stuff, I mean, there should be a part of you that is free and happy and kind of ridiculous and humorous, because as a teacher of this, I want to demonstrate that which I'm teaching, and not in a hokey way, but just in a way that says, I got no problem, going fly fishing with you. Got no problem going, drinking a beer with you. Got none of that. And being funny at the same time is very inviting and very earthy to a lot of people. And this is why I think that the success of Spirituality for Badasses is because of that. Because I ain't trying to preach from some top of the mountain position.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard a colleague of mine, Andy Frisella, yesterday talking about social media and how to be successful with your own social media. And his point, which is related to what you're saying, is be your honest, true self on your social media, because that's what people want to see. If you're trying to be pretending that you're somebody you're not, people won't gravitate towards your feed in this case of that discussion. But at the same time, they'll never know who you are. But if you're exactly who you are in public or in social media or however you present yourself, you're going to find true friends and true followers, because you're your most authentic self in public.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm not attracted to anybody who isn't their authentic self. So why should I expect anybody to be attracted to what I have to offer? And it gets even trickier with spirituality too, because there's so many expectations about what a spiritual person is, or what a person who has arrived spiritually is supposed to act or be like. And I struggled with that for many years, where I saw a lot of my previous teachers kind of like put on a shit eating shiny grin all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, it's not that I didn't get anything out of these teachers, except that they were presenting a side of themselves that's all you saw was this side. And that just, after a while, you begin to smell a rat. You don't. There's something inauthentic about that. So I very much like to expose my own shadow, my own faults, my own flaws, because they don't go away.
Yeah.
Ask my wife about that. They don't go away.
Well, and it's too hard to pretend all the time that life is perfect and shiny. And I think that we all want to see everybody's true colors. And what's interesting about human nature is we generally want to help one another. So when you can show that you're flawed or show your weaknesses, I think people genuinely want to help you through those times. And then all of a sudden you've got a support system that you didn't realize you had, because you chose to be authentic and real.
Yeah.